Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is Bill Giannone, and we're up to part 6 of our 10-part series on commercial invoicing explained. Many times, just the idea of time and materials sends shockwaves through people. It's not something they're comfortable with. They're used to using Xactimate or their own proprietary systems, maybe on Excel or some other software programs, but time and materials can be overwhelming for some people who've never done it. So what we're going to discuss in part 6 today is just a way to make sure that you're ready for time and materials. There are a few things we need to do before the loss occurs. We need to make sure, number one, that we have a proper price list created. This is a very, very important step. We cannot sideswipe this step. We have to make sure this is done well in advance of showing up at the project. We have to make sure that all of our labor, equipment, and consumables categories are clearly marked on our price list with a unit and a price. We need to then make sure that our client gets presented this price list at the same time that they're presented the work authorization. This price list becomes part of the contract for work. So we need to make sure the client looks at it, initials every single page, just to ensure that you didn't add pages in afterwards, and have them sign usually the front page of the document. Once they do that, in addition to executing the work authorization, that constitutes your contract and your pricing mechanism. It's very important that we do this. There are a couple of tips to make sure that we build the price list the proper way. In the last couple of years, there's been a lot of discussions back and forth in the industry about adding O&P onto a job. Well, in the commercial world, getting somebody to pay you overhead and profit on your entire invoice is something that some companies do, but I'm here to tell you that it's more difficult each and every year to try to get away with charging for it. The norm and the standard practice, as they call it in our industry, is for time and materials only be paid for general contracting, not for direct work. So I recommend that when you're doing your price lists, you build in enough cushion to make sure that you have enough operating overhead and profit for your company to survive and to grow. So just make sure your price list reflects those prices. Secondly, you're going to be told that overhead and profit markups are not eligible. So that's why we want to make sure that you do put it in there. Let's make sure everything is in this list and this list is created. One really important caveat, guys, remember, we cannot talk with other restoration companies about our price lists. It is considered collusion in every state in the country, and we're not allowed to collude and fix our pricing. So make sure that you come up with unique pricing that's a comfortable range for your area that you're doing business in. If you have any questions whatsoever on how to construct a T&M price list, we can go over that with you. Just give me a call or drop me an email. There are a lot of great resources on the Crest website to assist you in putting your price list together. And coming up in the next couple of weeks, I will be actually creating an entire presentation on putting your price list together. So stay tuned for that one. That was before the loss. Now, during the loss, the most important thing we can do is to document everything. We need to make sure that we can prove everything we're doing. It's a very simple process once you take into account all of the different documentation logs and sheets that we reviewed in one of the previous sessions. Let's make sure we've got all of those timesheets, equipment logs, consumables logs, and conversation logs. Let's make sure we're taking photos. More is better. Let's make sure we're memorializing all of our conversations with emails or text messages to make sure that we have everything documented. And let's make sure during the process of the project that as the project moves along, if anything comes up that's outside of the norm or outside or unforeseen, we immediately communicate that to all the parties. That's our responsibility. Our last responsibility is after the loss is complete. We simply take all of the work that we put together and we put the pieces into the puzzle and we create our invoice. It's really that simple. Coming up in part 7, we're going to be discussing the 5 easy pieces of your invoice. Remember, this was just a little refresher to give you a little confidence to keep moving forward. Look forward to seeing you in part 7. This is Bill Giannone saying continued success, and thanks so much for being a Crest member.